viewers, and also welcome to those watching on TikTok and YouTube. We have got former Everton, Chelsea and current Leicester keeper Asmir Begovic and our reporter Chris Reedy with us.
Hello everyone, Arsenal push for Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, the latest transfer story, PSG's position and Mikel Arteta'S plans. Arsenal have once again been linked with one of the most exciting wingers in European football, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, and the latest reports have created plenty of excitement among supporters. The Georgian international remains one of the most highly rated attacking players in Europe, and his performances for Paris Saint-Germain have made him a dream target for clubs looking to add creativity, pace and individual quality to their attack. However, there is an important distinction that Arsenal supporters need to understand before getting too excited. At the moment, the available evidence points to Arsenal having an interest in Kvaratskhelia and having explored the possibility of a deal. Rather than Arsenal having completed an agreement with PSG, there is no reliable confirmation that the transfer is already done. That does not mean the story should be ignored. Quite the opposite, Kvaratskhelia is exactly the type of player who could attract Arsenal's attention when the club is looking for another attacking option, capable of changing games from the wing. Arsenal have been searching for ways to improve their attacking depth and add more unpredictability in the final third, and Kvaratskelia's profile fits that requirement extremely well. The Georgian winger has already demonstrated that he can perform at the highest level. His ability to receive the ball wide, attack defenders, create chances and move inside from the flank makes him extremely difficult to control. For Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, that kind of player could provide another dimension. And that is where this transfer story becomes particularly interesting. Arsenal's interest in Kvaratskhelia is not completely new. Reports earlier in the year indicated that the North London club had made inquiries about the PSG winger. That interest made sense from a football perspective. Arsenal have developed into one of Europe's strongest teams under Mikel Arteta, but the club continues to look for ways to improve its attacking options. Arteta wants players who can operate in different positions, combine with teammates and create situations that defenders cannot easily predict. Kvaratskhelia possesses many of those qualities. He is naturally comfortable on the left side, but he can also move into central areas, combine with midfielders and attack the penalty area. His dribbling ability gives him another important advantage because he can create something individually when a team is struggling to break down a deep defensive block. For Arsenal, this would be particularly valuable. There are matches when Arsenal dominate possession but face an opponent defending with almost every player behind the ball. In those situations, having a winger who can beat a defender without needing a complicated passing sequence can completely change the game. Kvaratskhelia is capable of doing exactly that. But there is another major obstacle. PSG are not looking to give Kvaratskhelia away. Paris Saint-Germain have very little reason to make life easy for Arsenal. Kvaratskhelia only recently became part of the PSG project and his performances have strengthened his position within the squad. He has played an important role in PSG's attack and has shown that he can compete at the highest level of European football. The 2025-26 season only increased his reputation. Kvaratskhelia was one of the players who attracted enormous attention during PSG's Champions League campaign. His attacking quality was particularly important during the knockout stages, and he remained one of the players opponents had to prepare for carefully. In the Champions League final against Arsenal, for example, Kvaratskhelia was involved in one of the decisive moments when his movement in the penalty area helped PSG win a penalty, which Ousmane Dembélé converted. That tells you something about the level of player Arsenal would be trying to sign. This is not a squad player who would arrive simply to provide competition. This would be a major attacking signing, and PSG know that. The player's position is also important. Another factor that makes the transfer difficult is Kvaratskhelia's own position. Reports earlier this year suggested that the players' camp did not see a move away from Paris as the preferred option. His father, Badri Kvaratskhelia, was reported to have indicated that his son had no intention of leaving PSG during the summer. Other reports have also suggested that Kvaratskhelia feels comfortable in Paris, values his relationship with Luis Enrique and wants to establish himself at PSG for the long term. That is a major warning for Arsenal. Even if Arsenal make contact with PSG, even if Arsenal are prepared to spend significant money, and even if Arteta wants the player, the final decision cannot be made by Arsenal alone. The player has to want the move. PSG have to agree to sell, and Arsenal have to decide whether the financial package makes sense. Those three conditions would all need to be satisfied. Why Mikel Arteta would want him. From a tactical perspective, it is easy to understand why Mikel Arteta could be attracted to Kvaratskhelia. Arteta's Arsenal relies heavily on technical quality, intelligent movement and positional discipline. Kvaratskhelia can operate within that kind of system while also providing something different. He can improvise. He can attack 1-versus-1 situations. He can cut inside. He can combine with midfielders. He can deliver dangerous balls into the box. And perhaps most importantly, he can create opportunities when the normal passing structure is not producing enough. Arsenal already have talented attacking players, but adding another elite winger would give Arteta more options. Imagine an Arsenal attack where the manager can rotate his wide players depending on the opponent. Against a team that presses aggressively, Kvaratskhelia's ability to carry the ball could be useful. Against a deep defensive block, his dribbling could become decisive. Against a team that leaves space behind the defensive line, his acceleration could become a major weapon. That versatility is one of the reasons a player like him could be so attractive to Arteta. Arsenal need to be careful. However, Arsenal should not allow excitement to replace strategy. Kvaratskhelia would almost certainly command a huge transfer fee if PSG were willing to consider selling him. And PSG are not a club that needs to sell its best players because of financial pressure. That completely changes the negotiating situation. Arsenal would need to convince PSG that the offer was too good to reject. That could mean a very substantial transfer fee, potentially one of the biggest investments in Arsenal's history. The club would therefore have to ask an important question. Is Kvaratskhelia the player who can make the difference between Arsenal competing for major trophies and Arsenal actually winning them? That is the level of decision Arsenal's recruitment team would need to make. The Arsenal project is becoming more attractive. There is also another side to the story. Arsenal are no longer the same club they were several years ago. The team has developed into a serious competitor in England and Europe, and the project under Arteta has become increasingly attractive to elite players. The club has a clear tactical identity. The squad has young and experienced players. The Emirates Stadium continues to provide an impressive environment, and Arsenal are now competing at the highest level. That could potentially make the club an attractive destination for a player like Kvaratskhelia. But attractiveness alone does not guarantee a transfer. PSG can offer him something Arsenal cannot easily match: continuity in a team that has already won major European trophies and has made him an important part of its attacking structure. That is why this transfer remains complicated. The financial question. The biggest issue could ultimately be the price. When a club like PSG signs a player and considers him important to its project, it does not normally accept a cheap offer. Arsenal would therefore have to prepare for a very expensive negotiation. There have been various figures discussed in media reports around elite transfers, but Arsenal supporters should be careful with exact numbers unless they are backed by a reliable source. At this stage, it would be irresponsible to tell fans that Arsenal have already agreed to pay a specific amount for Kvaratskhelia when there is no strong confirmation of a completed agreement. What we can say is that a transfer of this magnitude would likely require a significant financial commitment, and Arsenal would have to decide whether that investment fits the club's wider transfer strategy. What this means for Arsenal supporters. So where does the story stand? The simplest answer is this: Arsenal have shown interest in Kvaratskhelia, and the player remains a name who can realistically be discussed in connection with the club. But the deal is not confirmed. There is no solid evidence that Arsenal have officially announced a completed agreement with PSG. There is also no reliable confirmation that Kvaratskhelia has already agreed personal terms with Arsenal, and there is no basis for presenting the transfer as finished. That distinction is extremely important. Football transfer news can move quickly and negotiations can change within hours. A club can make an inquiry today, hold discussions tomorrow and decide not to proceed later. That is why supporters should separate confirmed information from rumours. PSG's powerful position. From PSG's perspective, the situation is simple.